Good morning. Welcome to your program, Your Agenda, here on Cignal TV, One News Channels 8 and 250. Maraming salamat po for joining us this morning. It is the 8th of September 2023, and I'm your host, Cito Beltran, welcoming you to the program and just giving you a heads up. Yesterday afternoon, evening, a lot of motorists, even media people noticed that there was a visible haze all over Metro Manila. Kumbaga, nagtataka, hindi naman daw fog, hindi naman daw malamig. Bakit parang low visibility? So please be careful because we are at that point in the year, in the season, where haze can develop, everybody driving out to work or to meetings, etc. And then you have a thick cloud cover that traps the hot air, the air pollution. And next thing you know, you're sick. So please be careful. This is the time when people should be careful about coughs, colds, and pneumonia. I've had a few friends who have ended up with slight pneumonia, mabuti na agapan, but for the elderly, please be careful and wear a mask, not for COVID, but against air pollution. Okay, so today we're going to have a double feature. We are going to talk about the disruption and disturbance and solution of government regarding the the rising overpricing of rice. And that's going to be our first topic, to be followed by the controversy or argument over free college education and the suggestion of the DOF na dapat may entrance exam and other topics that concern the CHED. But first up, allow me to say thank you to all of you who are Cignal TV subscribers. Thank you to all of you who chase or follow us on Facebook and on YouTube. And of course, those who have downloaded the Cignal Play app. Maraming salamat po for watching Agenda. Let's now go to, by the way, thank you to PLDT Home Fiber Optic Internet. Talagang maasahan. Ang nagiging problema ko lang, hindi ako magaling sa technology. So sometimes, like yesterday, there were glitches. Wala po yung technical director nating Mrs. Beltran. She went to Holland with my daughter. So I'm all alone. And all these wires, I tell you, if I could pan the camera, you would be surprised with the number or with the amount of wires that's all over the table. But let's go to our daily starter. And it is from an author that I'm really beginning to like. And I just got his book. I think it's entitled The Fifth Mountain. But our feature for today is author Paulo Coelho, or Colho. I don't know how to pronounce his family name. Ang lagi ko sabi, Coelho, pero Colho yata eh. If you're brave enough to say goodbye, life will reward you with a new hello. Parang naalala ko tuloy yung yung kantang Hello. Hello, my friend. Anyway, Coelho. Coelho ba talaga? Talagang magaling itong si Gab Malyari. Nabigyan ako kagad ng tip. Okay. But anyway, his advice is, if you're brave enough to say goodbye, life will reward you with a new hello. Okay. So, true confession po, I have had problems saying goodbye in the past, but at the point when I learned to say goodbye. Goodbye to certain people who weren't good for me. Goodbye to certain situations that weren't good for me. Goodbye to certain habits that weren't good for me. God has blessed me with better things. And God always has the best thing for you. So be brave, say goodbye dun sa mga energy vampires, mga heartbreakers, etc. Ano yun, yung mga those who collect hearts in jars. Hanapin nyo na lang kung saan kanta yan. But that's our daily starter. Let's now go to the front page of the Philippine Star for a quick review of the news. And today, September 8th, the headline is Marcos hits dangerous use of Coast Guard ships. BBM urges ASEAN leaders to take action. Speaking at the ASEAN summit, President Bongbong Marcos called out China's continued use of Coast Guard ships and militia vessels to harass civilian vessels, and called on the members of the ASEAN to take a position, take action to put a stop to this dangerous activity. That photo that you see there is a photograph of U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Marcos sharing a light moment with Philippine Ambassador to the U.S., Jose Babes Manuel Romualdez, Speaker Martin Romualdez, and U.S. Assistant to the President, Philip Gordon. Okay, and let's go to the top of the front page. The header, rice traders bemoan daily losses from rice caps. According to the news, the rice traders are losing an average of 7,000 pesos a day, and that the 15,000 ayuda that is being proposed will only cover 2 to 3 days of losses. Kumbaga, hindi tatagal, and by the end of 1 month, I think 1 month, or they would basically go bust. So we will tackle that discussion this morning with our first guest. But let's first go back to the news. Australian Prime Minister arrives in Manila for a strategic partnership meeting in security, counterterrorism, law enforcement, education, and climate change. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese arrived last night and will be meeting with President Bongbong Marcos at Malacanang today. On the other side of the news, aray ko po, okay, mabuti na lang hindi ako masyadong mahilig sa kamatis. And the tomato price hits a high as 300 pesos per kilo. Ayan, magtanim na po kayo ng kamatis, but mind you, it is not easy to plant tomatoes. It's not like pechay, it's not like kangkong. Tomatoes, nako po, that is my nemesis. But the retail prices of tomatoes reached as high as 300 pesos per kilo in Marikina City amid shortage in supply. The current price of tomato is higher by 70 pesos compared to its previous price of 230. So biruin niyo yan, 300 pesos for tomatoes. Well, it's not so bad. Sili nga, umabot ng 1,000, remember? Okay, further down the front page, Pinoy's, ayan na. Now, the backlash is coming. Pinoy's least satisfied with government efforts versus inflation. Results of a July 22 to 26 survey released on Thursday found that only by July pa po ito, found that only 34% of the respondents were satisfied with the government's performance, 32% were dissatisfied, and 34% were undecided. Well, that was last July. An entire month has passed since then, so I am worried about what the next survey will reveal. Meanwhile, big photo of the front page on the center is a photo of top athletes FIBA World Cup 2023 global ambassadors and NBA greats. Carmelo Anthony, center, Pau Gasol on the left, and Luis Scola arrived at the NAIA yesterday for activities related to the final phase of the World Cup hosted by the Philippines. And related story, Coach Tim Cohn, who was assistant coach for the FIBA World Cup, has now assumed the position of national coach for the Philippine team for the Asian Games, I believe. And further down, remaining news, Philippines, good news naman, Philippines, again, Asia's leading dive destination. Okay, so at least may good news for the fifth time the Philippines has been recognized as a prime diving destination in Asia by an international tourism body. Okay, and World Travel Awards. Okay, now here is a problem article. Alarm raised over 3 million drop in school enrollees. Alliance of Concerned Teachers Party List Representative Congresswoman Franz Castro expressed alarm over the 3 million drop in the number of enrollees for this school year, calling on Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte to explain the worrisome trend. Okay, so yan po, no? Based on the Department of Education's Learners Information System, the total number of enrolled students as of September 6 is 25.9 million or 3 million short of DepEd's 28.8 million target. And last but not the least, Ramon Magsaysay awardee fights for food sovereignty. Eugenio Lemos, Timor-Leste nominee or awardee for the Ramon Magsaysay, has devoted his life to fighting for food sovereignty because as a child, he was a victim of a civil war that took his father and brother because of starvation, and that led to him fighting for food production and food sovereignty. So there we go. That's a review of the news. And now let's go for a quick break. When we return, we will start with our interview, beginning with the rising price and overpricing of rice. We'll be right back here on Agenda.
The issues on the price cap on rice continue to pile up. Aside from the losses that retailers incur, it turns out that Filipino consumers are shying away from the cheaper rice because of the quality.
Lahat na nakakakita nagko-comment, ba't ganun, ba't ganun, ganun. Kaya minsan nakakaano din, sabi nga, ay pangit, ay durog, ganun, pangit na itsura, hindi masarap, ganun. Dapat siguro yun para mga dog food, mas mabenta pa rin po yung mga magagandang mahal.
This is why many are opting for the pricier rice, causing another problem for the small businesses that sell rice.
Kung kukuha po ako ng mas mababa na hindi ko naman siya mabenta, o di ba sayang din naman kung hindi makakain. O di bibenta ko na lang yung di bali ba bumagsak yung aking presyo, kalugi ko.
Rice retailers have met with the Trade Department about their concerns. Based on their computation, they will lose 49,000 pesos per week if the price cap is still implemented. Let's further discuss this matter on today's agenda.
Raul Montemayor is the national manager of the Federation of Free Farmers Cooperatives Incorporated, a nationwide federation of agricultural cooperatives in the Philippines. Montemayor is also a private sector advisor to the Department of Agriculture.
Good morning, Mr. Raul Montemayor. Welcome back to the program agenda.
Yes, magandang umaga, Cito. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, umpisahan na natin. What have you seen on the ground? What is going on? Ano ba talaga ang sitwasyon? Kasi when I watched that video, parang mapakaliwa ka o mapakanan ka, we can't solve the problem because if you lower the price of rice, the quality that's being sold does not meet the demand or expectation of the buyer. But if the seller sells the quality rice, they can't make the money. So where will the compromise be? What is really happening? Kwento lang ba yan o talagang yan ang sitwasyon?
Well, ang storyline kasi ng gobyerno, sapat naman daw yung bigas, pero may nagsasamantala. So if that is the case, the solution of raiding the warehouses and imposing price ceilings might be correct. No? Pero kami, ang analysis namin, the problem is the supply, not the hoarding. No? The supply is fast thinning out because the imports did not come in as expected because of the spike in international prices. No? So habang papalapit na yung bagong ani, paubos na rin yung stock natin at konti na lang ang naiiwan palagay namin. Kaya sumisipa ang presyo ng bigas. No? And the traders bought the palay from farmers at a relatively high price. They are passing it to retailers at a relatively high price. And now you're asking the retailers to sell at a loss. No? Medyo nakakatawa yung sitwasyon na gano'n. No? And then government ends up spending a lot of money to subsidize retailers, no? When the problem should have been avoided in the first place by solving the supply problem. Although that's a little bit too late already now at this point in time.
So what makes you say it's too late? Because you said meron namang padating na ani.
Yes, but
in 30 days, if I'm not mistaken, kasi traditionally, di ba, ang anihan November?
yes, well, actually, end of
October.
September, meron na, no?
Yes.
Too late in the sense that between now and about the third week or fourth week of September, our supplies will be continue to thin out now. And if we import now, it's also too late because it takes 3 weeks for the imports to arrive here now. So we have to sort of grin and bear it na lang. No? Napasubo na tayo sa ganitong sitwasyon. If it's a supply problem, where will we get the supply? No? The harvest is still 2 or 3 weeks ahead of us. It's too late to import. No? And where will we get the supply unless consumers cut down on the rice consumption, which is happening to some extent already.
Okay, now, do you believe the claim that there is enough rice. Because even my sources tell me that, Cito, puno naman yung mga warehouse, puno yung bodega. Pero ang problema, hindi mo malaman ano ang smuggled, ano ang hindi smuggled. Kasi wala nang smuggling eh. Magbayad ka lang ng buwis, okay na. So if it's not an issue of smuggling, then it's now an issue of hoarding. But is it true? Is it really about hoarding? Because someone told me, puno lahat ng warehouse, pati nga sa ibang produkto, puno ang mga cold storage. Ayaw lang ilabas ng mga traders.
Without that, no. Because by this time, when the new harvest is fast approaching, it doesn't make sense to hoard. No. Pag inabutan ka ng bagong ani, malulugi ka na malaki. Because then the prices will start to go down. No. In August 1, the DA itself announced that our stock level is good for 39 days. August 1 yun, Cito, no?
Okay.
Ang ani natin end of September pa. So, August 1, dapat meron kang 60 days, no? Pero we had only 39 days, no? Kulang tayo ng about 21 days. And that 21 days was supposed to have been absorbed by imports, no? Because the harvest is still in the end of September, no? Hindi natin alam ilan ba talaga yung pumasok na imports, no? But if there were no imports that came in August, by September 1, we had only 9 days of stock. No? Kung
Yeah,
walang
Sir Raul, ang hindi ko maintindihan, and I think ito na rin ang pinagsususpecha ng maraming Pilipino, how can we talk about shortage? Okay, sabihin mo nang may shortage. Ang shortage na pinag-uusapan natin is on the basis of a rule that we should have 2 months ready supply at any time. So
Yes.
right now, we only have something like 30 to 39 days. So may kakapusan na tayo. But that it depends on whether we consume all of it. Then talagang wala tayong bigas. But with the coming harvest by the end of the month, mag-aabot yung trend, as they say.
Yes. Pero photo finish ang mangyayari.
Okay. So photo finish. So hindi
Yes.
talagang zero balance,
Yes.
pero talagang
Manipis.
manipis lang. Okay. But
Yes.
why do we have such high prices? Because these were rice imported at least a month, several months ago. May tinawagan nga akong kaibigan. Sabi ko, pare, meron ka pa bang rice? Ganito, gano'n. Sabi niya, wala akong fresh rice dito eh. Ang rice ko 4 months old. So sabi ko, ha? Nai-stock pala ng 4 months yung bigas na yan. Eh bakit ang mga presyo sa labas ang taas? That is the question. If they bought or harvested or imported this rice 4 months ago, why are we paying for current prices?
Well, our last harvest was in April, May. Now, at that time, the palay buying price was about 23 pesos per kilo.
Okay.
So that will translate to about kung times 2 sa 46 at the retail level. No? Pero you carry that inventory from April, May all the way to August, September. Meron kang cost of money, storage cost, etc. Baka aabot yan ng 50 pesos pagdating ng August, September. No? So yun yung sa problema natin. Ha? And then itong mga importation ngayon, napakamahal na sa international. Ang balita namin, the cheapest imported rice now is coming in at 45 pesos per kilo. No? And a lot of these importers have stopped importing because they are not sure if they can still pass on that 45 peso rice to retailers and still make
So Sir Raul, ang pinaka-important point sa lahat ng tinuro mo sa amin today, hindi namin naisip. We don't remember or think of the cost of money. Yes, they bought the rice 4 months ago, harvested or stored it 4 months ago, but they bought it with borrowed money from the banks. Hindi ito yung bilyonaryo ang bumibili ng bigas, traders ito who took out loans, letters of credit, and because you stored in the bodega, dahil hindi pa nabebenta lahat, may binabayaran kang interest dahil nakaparada yung produkto.
Yes, and there is also shrinkage, no?
Okay.
Yung timbang nung inimbak mong palay over time, bumababa yan, no?
Natutuyo kasi.
Yes,
Ayun.
nag-evaporate yung moisture.
So quick question, quick answer if you don't mind. Pasensya na Sir Raul, dalawang
Yes.
ko kasi today. What is the one solution that your group is pushing for the president and the DA or the government to implement?
Right now, if they cannot lift the price ceiling, i-adjust nila ng mataas ng konti para hindi magkaubusan ng regular rice sa market. And very important for us ito, what is happening now at the retail level is nothing compared to what is happening at the farm gate level. No. Bumagsak na yung presyo ng palay because of this price ceiling, because traders now will buy from farmers at a certain price that will allow them to pass on the rice at within the prescribed ceiling. No? So ang balita namin, 3 pesos per kilo na ang binagsak ng presyo ng palay.
So nag-backfire. Imbis
Yes.
okay, gumagawa ka ng solusyon para happy yung consumer, ang nilatigo mo naman yung magsasaka, yung rice farmer.
Yes, and the hoarders and manipulators who were supposed to be the culprits, wala. They go scot-free. No?
Okay, well, so in effect, you are saying either increase the price ceiling by how much? 41 ang low price na ceiling, yung high is 45. How much adjustment should it be?
Yung 41, hindi na masyadong relevant yun. Nobody practically buys regular milled rice. Pangit talaga yan. Durog-durog at saka all stock. We look at the 45, siguro itaas yan ng 48, 49, something like that, no? To give some breathing space sa retailers. And then yung palay price naman hindi masyadong babagsak, no? And then once the harvest starts, take it away because kusa ng bababa ang presyo ng bigas.
And bigyan ng subsidy yung mga rice farmers, yung nagbebenta ng palay, hindi yung nagbebenta ng bigas.
Yes.
Ayun. Okay. So, Sir Raul, thank you very much for your
Salamat.
time this morning. God bless you. Keep up the fight, sir. Magandang umaga po.
Salamat, Cito. Thank you.
Okay, we'll now go for a quick break, and after the break, we will go to another hot topic. And please stay with us because it's another learning regarding higher education, free tuition fees here on Agenda.
talks regarding the calls to review the free college education program remain a heated discussion among officials. Contrary to Finance Secretary Benjamin Jokno's recent pronouncements, the Commission on Higher Education, or CHED, says that the program is not a waste of state funding, as it has helped some of the poorest families send their children to universities and finish their studies. CHED Chairman Popoy De Vera added that proposing a nationwide test to filter the beneficiaries for free college education would be, quote, disastrous. Some senators, meanwhile, are supportive of the proposal to review the government's free college education program. But this is more so to strike a balance and allow more funds to be allocated for students coming from poor families. How exactly can government address the issues raised by officials on the free college education program? Let's discuss that further on today's agenda.
Prospero De Vera III is the chairperson of the Commission on Higher Education. He is a known political advisor serving former senators like Nene Pimentel. De Vera is also a professor of public administration at the University of the Philippines, where he also previously served as vice president for public affairs.
Welcome, Chairman Popoy De Vera, to the program agenda.
Welcome, Cito, and thank you for inviting me to your program.
Okay, well, as you know, I am a strong supporter for tertiary education, particularly for indigent families. Medyo meron po tayong alam ng konti sa tunay na sitwasyon nila because we are also helping such families. But this issue about putting up a entrance exam or a filter, according to Ben Jokno, to filter who should get free education. Where is it now? Nakapag-usap na ba kayo? Have you guys come to a compromise?
Well, let me first start by saying that I welcome the discussions on free higher ed. In fact, I had brought this matter up to the Congressional Commission on Education a long time ago when it was created. I asked that this be included as a major agenda for the discussion of EDCOM, because EDCOM would be a good platform by which all the stakeholders will be there. Because, you know, when you discuss the issue of free higher, there are many issues attached to it. And therefore, you know, short discussions, TV interviews are good, but kailangan nating himayin yung mga detalye nito. So last year ko pa ito sinabi sa EDCOM, and I hope they can fast track the discussion on this. So I welcome it. I think we have to frame the issue squarely, Cito. And this is, should government be funding higher education? I think that should be the starting point, no? Because for a very long time, we have been told that the best investment is primary and secondary education. That's why our Constitution says mandatory and free public education for elementary and high school. That was the conventional thinking before. Pag nakagraduate ng high school yung mga citizens mo, you have a workforce that is competitive, no? But that doesn't work anymore now because the market has changed, the skills required by the global and the domestic market has changed, and the World Bank in many of its studies is saying that the highest return of investment is now in higher education, not in primary and secondary. 17% increase in investments in higher education compared to 7% in secondary and 10% in elementary. So kailangan klaruhin muna natin. Should we invest in higher education? If the answer is yes, then the next question is, how do you invest it well? So I think that should be the framing, because some people are now saying you scrap free higher ed. You know, it will not be consistent with developing a workforce. Yung
Okay.
high school graduate ngayon, wala nang makuhang trabaho yan. Ang skill set.
Sorry, Chairman, that is exactly what I want you to, let's bring it down do sa level na maintindihan ng mga ordinaryong mamamayan. Because I remember that when we pushed as a nation for elementary and secondary education, yung high school, the idea was so we don't have an illiterate nation. we have a nation na marunong magbasa, magbilang, mag-add, mag-subtract at may comprehension. But itong college education was more like a privilege of the rich and for those who want to become employees. But countries like Singapore have shown na if you don't have properly educated and trained citizens, you are not going to get a quality field of workers and stakeholders.
Yeah, Sito, in Singapore, the participation rate in higher education is 91%. 91% of university-age students are enrolled in university. Practically universal na ang coverage nila. We still have a long way to go because we started off around 32 when free higher ed was introduced. We're now up to 41, but we're still lagging compared to other developed and developing countries in terms of their ability to bring their population to university education. Because the skills needed now are not the skills needed 20, 30 years ago. I think that has to be made clear. The bias against investing in higher education, we have to take that out.
What is the bias? Kasi maski ako, hindi ko maintindihan. I mean, Ben Jokno is a friend. We've known each other since the era peers. Pero sabi ko nga, parang strange. Why is he against it? Why is there an opposition to free tuition? Usapang pera lang ba yan? Or is there something wrong with the idea?
No, I think it's a difference in philosophical approach. So what is the role of higher education for a country? I think that has to be the starting point of debate. Because if you feel that it is a privilege, then the framing is different. And the other danger is some are framing it as between secondary and tertiary education. That should not even be discussed. It's not either or. It should be both. We should invest in primary, secondary, and tertiary education. And tertiary education because that's what's happening all over the world.
Okay, it's one thing to follow what the global trend is, but what is the success story in the Philippines? You've done free tertiary education for how many years, and what has the outcome been?
We've implemented it for 5 years, and the most important indicator is we have increased access. The participation rate has significantly increased because of free higher ed. The shift in enrollment before free higher ed was about 60% were enrolled in private schools and 40% in public universities. It's now 50-50. So more and more students are enrolling in public university, not just because it's free, but because the quality continues to improve in public universities because of investments of government. So more students are able to study. That is quite clear because, when you say, I am worried that some people are saying that free higher ed helps the non-poor rather than the poor. I mean, it depends on how you define what is poor. A minimum wage earner in this country has no financial capability to send their children to private schools. That is quite clear. The only chance of many families to have their children educated in university is go to public universities. That is, you see that all over. Cito, you've been going around the country. I have visited more than 100 of the 114 state universities and colleges. So I know on the ground, I have talked to the students. I know on the ground that there are so many young people who are finally able to study because of free higher ed. We're seeing the phenomenon of what I call first-generation graduates. These are students first in the family na makatungtong sa university and first in the family to graduate. You see that all over. We've documented it. It's available online in our Facebook pages. And it is well documented.
Well, it is one thing for you to say it, but allow me to say it. I have personally supported Hindi po ito yabang, ano? Nakikita ko po yung anak ng isang security guard sa isang barangay na unang nakagraduate sa buong tribo nila. And then there is now a sister following suit. And because one graduated, the other one is graduating, the other children want to follow suit. And they're now dreaming of, one is dreaming of becoming a teacher, the other one is dreaming of becoming a soldier. So the program, the free tertiary education, obviously provides access, provides hope for these children. And you pointed out, we both shared the success stories. But the question is, what about controls? Kasi the bean counters and the number of people, ang gusto nilang malaman paano naman yung mga sayang, tapon, etc. May mga sayang ba, tapon, or mga what is the rate of graduation versus rate of dropout and employment, Chairman?
Yeah, there are many things that we have to look at. For example, attrition rate. How many of the students continue on a year-to-year basis to get enrolled? There was a dramatic increase in attrition rate during the COVID period. Kasi mahirap ang buhay. Walang hanap buhay. Madami talagang tumigil. Pero bumababa na ngayon. The attrition rate now, per our statistics, is about 27%. It went up to about 40% and high during COVID. Bumababa. So, why are students stopping, for example? Aside from COVID, clearly, the support system needs to be improved. Support system in the school, particularly support system for their day-to-day expenses. That's why a part of free higher education is what we call tertiary education subsidy. This is additional subsidy for students coming from listahanan families. They are given additional subsidy by government to buy their books, for their food, for their day-to-day expenses. Pero maliit lang yung percent ng nakakakuha ng test. At saka ang sabi ng iba, medyo kulang pa yung test. No? So, yes, I agree, we need more focused targeting. Aside from free higher ed, we must be able to target those that really need additional assistance and assist them. I agree with that.
Okay, now, how strict are you? Kasi I know of one student, nursing student, and lumapit siya sa akin and asked for help. Kasi sabi ko, di ba meron ka ng scholarship sa CHED? Yes, sir, pero kasi last sem I did not make the grade kasi po nagsabay yung aming initial internship exposure. Puro kami puyat, hindi kami nakapag-aral ng husto. So yung average ko hindi ho umabot dun sa requirement. Is there such a thing?
Well, it depends on the scholarship or subsidy you are getting. We have what is called merit scholarships. Ito, labanan, pataasan ng grade. We are constrained by the amount of funds that we have. We make do with what is available. So, students whose grades go down or who bumagsak, siyempre sa susunod na round ng merit scholarship, baka hindi na makuha kasi pataasan. No? Yung tertiary education subsidy naman, it's based on the income of the parents. If
yung
they are
indigent family.
Yes, if they are in the listahanan of the SWD, then they're eligible to get tertiary education subsidy. But the amounts available cannot cover everyone who wants to have it. No? So we're also restricted. So there are various filters. So hindi naman totoo na walang filter sa subsidy ng government. Listahan of the SWD is a very good filter. Grades are a very good filter. So we're not giving money to everyone. There are various filters. Even the admission in public universities have filters because the universities have admission tests. You know, Cito, we get so worried with the UPCAT where there are more than 100,000 students applying and we only get 14,500 in UP. In PUP now, Polytechnic University of the Philippines, the acceptance rate for admission is now only between 15 to 20%. Kakaunti na nga ang nakakapasok. So it's not true that there is no filter. In fact, the filter is very strict, and our problem now is how to put in equity. Because if the existing admission policies...
Chairman, pasensya ka na, hindi ako sophisticated eh. Ano yung sinasabi mong problem ninyo is to put in equity? Tagalog nga, ano yung equity ba yan?
Ang ibig sabihin, kung hindi natin babaguhin o i-improve yung admission system, ang makakapasa sa admission test, yung mga graduates ng private schools, yung mga galing sa mayayamang pamilya, may pangbayad ng review class, yung mga galing ng urban areas. Yan ang mas prepared na kumuha ng admission test. Sila ang makakapasok. So ang tanong, paano naman yung mga galing ng public schools, yung mga anak ng indigenous communities, yung mga anak ng rebel returnees, yung mga galing sa baryo? Hirap silang makapasok with the current admission system. Kaya kailangan mag-intervene ang mga pamantasan so we become more inclusive. We bring them to the mainstream. We give them hope that that government is there to help them get educated.
But what happened to all that talk that the Philippines and the Constitution and the Philippine government, its budget, the primary investment is on education? Every day na lang, last week, wala tayong nadinig kung hindi, all this argument about intelligence funds, etc. Are you telling me that the CHED is not getting its fair share of the pie? Kasi for many years, even when you and I were going to the university, I believe, the talk was, the Philippines is highly invested in education. What happened to all of that?
The investment level is going up, but if you compare ourselves with other countries in the region, our investment level in higher education is still much lower than our countries in the ASEAN region.
Are we still prioritizing education in the budget?
Well, in terms of numbers, depends on how you define, because when you say prioritizing education, it includes spending for personnel salaries in universities, etc. If you're asking about direct investments and subsidies on students, then our investment levels can still improve or should still improve.
Can we be honest with each other, Chairman? Can improve, still improve, or should improve because it's not good?
It should improve because there are so many other Filipinos who are qualified, they're in the listahanan program, but are unable to get additional subsidy because that's the only budget that is given to the commission.
What about students, in the outlying areas? Because universities tend to be in urban areas. And ikaw na mismo ay nagsabi sa amin sa programa, Cito, kung meron kang pinapaaral o may scholar kayo na for nursing, pag-aralin mo sa Batangas State University, ginawa namin. Pero mamatay-matay siya dun sa pamasahe. So napilitan siyang kumuha ng room dahil walang masyadong dorms sa mga state universities. That seems to be a problem in many state universities and colleges, accommodation, housing.
Yeah, totoo yan. Tumaas na ang kalidad ng edukasyon sa public universities. Walang question yan. You just look at the licensure results. Now, it has really improved. But the facilities, we need more investments in facilities like dormitories, for example. What many public universities are doing is create more extension programs doon sa malalayong lugar. Kaya even if there are 114 state universities and colleges, the number of campuses nationwide is close to 400. So meron silang main campus and they have satellite campuses. So that is what is happening. But universities have to start investing in dormitories. I agree. Kasi makakatipid na mabuti yung mga bata at saka kung may tertiary education subsidy sila, pwede namang yun ang pambayad nila sa dormitory. that is a problem. No, again, it's a question of how much resources are we willing to invest, to create the support services for students. So when they say madaming dropout, baka nga tulad ng sabi mo, kaya nagda-drop out, hindi na kaya yung pang-araw-araw na gastusin. Hindi
Okay.
dahil libre ang edukasyon, kasi yung libre at tuition tsaka miscellaneous fees. Paano yung pamasahe, yung pagkain,
Yeah.
pambili
You're so right there, Chairman, because the saddest words I heard from a young man was, Sir, magtatrabaho na lang muna po ako kasi wala na po kaming makain, saka na lang ako mag-aaral. Anyway, we'll go for a break. When we come back, let's continue with the conversation with Chairman Popoy De Vera here on Agenda. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the program Agenda, your program with your agenda on mind. And with us today, let's continue our conversation with Chairman Popoy De Vera of the Commission on Higher Education. Chairman, I'd like to ask, because na-cover na natin lahat, the wisdom of free tertiary education, the need, the success, etc., the filters that are actually in place. But what about yung talagang hanggang telepono na lang sila or sa tablet? Because I have seen how many young people seem to be more focused or more interested in continuing their studies online. And parang dito sa Pilipinas, we're so resistant to going digital. What is the attitude or mindset of the CHED on this matter?
Thank you, Cito. That has been one of my frustrations. Not just in CHED, but even before I joined CHED. No? We are underinvesting, or we are not investing enough on distance and open education. In fact, if there's one good silver lining of COVID, is that it forced everyone to start realizing that technology can ensure the continuity of education and access. Compared to other countries in the region, we're far behind in terms of the number of students that are studying through distance open learning. And we have to do more, no? Compared to Indonesia, compared to India. India has close to 2 million students online compared to China. We're now pushing
what are
schools
you planning to do?
We're pushing schools. I think one of the problems in the Philippines is many of our distance education programs are in the graduate school. Distance education in other countries in the region is for undergraduate programs. It is used to provide access because of the physical constraints of universities. Distance ed before was, the physical distance was difficult, and therefore you create modules, students study, they go to the schools once in a while, talk to their teachers, take their exam. But technology now has rendered distance, distance is irrelevant now because of technology. So we have to shift to undergrad. We have to mobilize the schools. We have to learn on how it is done in other countries and start providing access to students through distance education.
Or if we don't, education in the Philippines will be replaced by the University of YouTube.
It is already happening. It's already happening.
But Sec, pasensya ka na, Chairman, medyo ubos na tayo sa oras. Do you have provisions in the budget to improve digital technology, Wi-Fi's, and linkage in the state universities? Because that was one of the things that really annoyed me when we tried to set up a system for a university. Because one of our nieces couldn't get Wi-Fi. She had to go out at night sa university. And I talked to some people, pero talagang stonewall eh. Parang ayaw nilang maglagay ng equipment that is not university property. Sabi ko, if you're not investing, why not let other people invest?
Yes, during COVID, we started giving grants to universities to lay the foundation for smart campuses. That means fiber optic cables being put in, learning management systems being installed, audiovisual rooms being put there so teachers can videotape their lectures and post it online so the students can watch it at their pleasure. Of course, we need to continue investing there, and the universities are investing. The bad news is that the private universities are way ahead of public universities in terms of investing in technology and in online learning.
Siguro kahit na makapaglagay kayo, Chairman, ng internet cafes, private sector internet cafes in campuses para makatulong lang for education and personal security of students.
Yes, that's a very good idea. The other thing, Cito, which is very important, because of the technology of Starlink, many of the very far-flung areas, for example, in Tawi-Tawi, in Sulu, they're now using signals through Starlink so that they could go online. Because the problem in many areas in the country, kahit may pambili ka ng bandwidth, wala kang bandwidth na mabili. Because the telcos are not putting enough towers. So that's going to be solved by technology. So yung far-flung areas, medyo hindi na ganon kaproblema in terms of connectivity. But we have to tell our universities to keep on investing in it. And Congress naman has been very supportive of putting funds for connectivity.
Okay, Chairman, maybe mag-part 2 tayo or to be continued tayo. And thank you for your time. Please continue doing what you're doing, and you have supporters, not just on a personal basis, but because the CHED is finally becoming relevant and effective. And congratulations. God bless you.
Yeah, thank you, Cito. Thank you very much. Good morning.
Okay, let's now go to our final blessing or declaration, the exhortation this week from chapter 23 of the book of Psalms. Verse 3, let us declare together, He refreshes my soul. Our God, He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for His name's sake. Thank you for joining us here on Agenda this week. Please include us in your prayers. And it's a Friday, so please enjoy the weekend. Take a Sabbath. Be grateful, express your gratitude to God, and please keep it here on One News.